That was a little melancholy. Yeah, hey, what's up? Cosplayer on the floor.
Hi, when you were doing Sousuke Fullmetal Panic,
Yes.
how, his lines are so deadpan, but different, it seems like you're a very different person than him as far as, when he says them, they're just not supposed to be funny at all, and they're not. But how do you find the medium between making it sound like you're just a dead breathing and just being that seriously intense?
For about 2 years after I did the first Fullmetal Panic, whenever people like to ask you what's the hardest character you ever voiced, and for a while that was my answer, was Sousuke, because as you can tell, I'm not a deadpan person, and I'm not a technical person, and I'm not good at being monotone, and so I think the first time I went in there to work on that show, we spent an hour just really finding his voice, and it's actually, what's ironic is if you really notice, if you know a lot of the characters I've done, his voice is probably the closest to mine out of all the characters, but it's like me if I'm on Quaaludes and I'm socially retarded. It's like that's what it is. And the trouble, the key was that you're right. The trick was he had to be monotone and very uber technical, but we had to have moments where his personality would bubble through just a little bit, like we let a little bit of emotion come through, and that was really tricky. Like we went back after we did the first couple of episodes, we went back and recorded them over again because we were like, oh no, this is what it should be. It took a while for it to really set in, so we went back and fixed things. That was a big challenge. Yeah, because
it's amazing. Like I watched it with a little friend of mine, and like after we was done laughing about everything, and he was done with his neck spasm that he had, we were like, that was actually must have been really hard to play him because
it was. Yeah. Plus, there's all that military techno babble, and I'm like, what? And like there'd be paragraphs of it, and I'm like, oh god, okay. Like those sessions were grueling at first, but by the time we got to second raid, it was like, blah, 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 blah. It was so easy. It's like I could channel Sousuke. He feels good in here. I think he might vote Palin. Different. I'm kidding. I'm not telling anyone how to vote. I'm very opinionated about how I feel.
That's fine.
Okay, next question. Yes.
What was it like playing Green?
What was it like playing Green? It was over too quickly is what it was like. I'll tell you what's cool about that character. Okay, fine, leave. No, that's fine. No, that's fine. Right, fine. I see how you are. Yeah, I used to love you. That's right. I'm glad you got a picture of that. I'm pissed right now. Playing Greed was really cool because what happened was I was working on another show up at Funimation, and Mike McFarlane called me into the booth, and he goes, hey, dude, I want you to audition for this part in Fullmetal Alchemist. And I'm like, well, isn't that all cast? And he's like, no, we still haven't cast some of the sins and stuff. And I'm like, huh? But I didn't know, like, Fullmetal Alchemist hadn't even come out yet. I was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, dude, just trust me, like, this guy is a badass. And I'm like, oh, well, that's cool. And he's like, now here's the thing. He's in it for like 5 episodes. And I'm like, oh, dude. And he's like, no, trust me. And I'm like, whatever. He goes, so I want you to audition. I'm like, do you want me to just come in and read a few lines? And he was like, no, I want you to do an entire episode, and that's going to be your audition. And I'm like, that's kind of a, all right, you bastard, all right. And I recorded episode 23, where Greed reemerges. And granted, there aren't a lot of lines there. He wanted to hear if I could do the laugh, and if I could take on, because I'd never played a big villain up until that, much less a straight one, up until that.
Straight?
Well, you know.
It doesn't mean it's questionable.
But he wanted to see if I could do that because he was so used to hearing me play like the Ayatos and the Sousuke's and the Andromeda Senseiya, who's the gayest superhero ever. But I recorded the episode and he gave me some direction. He's like, you need to really bring it up from your gut and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay. And he was like, that's it. And then he recorded it and he listened to it and he's like, I came out of the booth and he goes, well, you got it. You're playing Greed. And I'm like, okay, well, that's cool. And he goes, no, you'll be happy about this. And I was like, okay, whatever. And then like the night, it was so funny. I was online really late one night. It was the night that Greed's first episode showed on Cartoon Network. And I refreshed my email after his scene was over, and I had like 10 emails. Like, holy shit, you played Greed, that's awesome. Your Greed was awesome. I love your Greed. And I'm like, and then all of a sudden, like, it's weird what that show did for certain people, because even though I'd already played like 85, 90 characters by then, I'd done like probably like 100 shows by then, all of a sudden it's like everyone who liked English dubs was like, oh, Chris Patton, he plays Greed. And I'm like, I'm doing a bunch of other things too. But it's cool because it makes people start taking a look at your other work. So, but playing Greed was awesome. It's just that it ended way too fast. And when we came to that last episode, the only thing that really shocked me and struck me was weird was that when he died, he ended up curling up in that fetal position. And I was like, such an unauspicious ending for such a wonderful butch villain. You know, he was a pimp while he was around. What are you gonna do? Okay. Yeah, next. Yeah?
Okay, not that I'm angry.
Well, I love when questions start like that.
No.
Not that I'm angry.
Last year, in Anime USA,
Uh-huh.
you said, oh...
Okay, so 2 years ago.
It was 2 years ago?
Yeah.
You were like, oh, I don't think I'm ever going to do anime again. And I was like...
Do what again? Anime USA?
I was like, oh, because this is the con I come to every year. So I was like, oh, I hate you, fucking asshole.
That's fan love right there.
I'm very glad you're back. You know, Meg Ayers isn't here, and Christian, and fucking other woman that I want to...
Monica?
Yeah, Monica. I fucking love her.
Monica is the other woman, isn't she?
Always yeah, I don't know why I said I wouldn't come back. That's kind of weird. I was, though, in a very odd place in my life. I was still with the band then, and, like, I left the band last October, and, like... Huh? I was just being Miley, you know. My dad had a mullet. I was dating Joe Jonas. He had a little promise ring. And I mean little. But as to why Monica and Lucy and Greg aren't here, I have no idea. I don't know. I think they're just being Miley. I'm not sure why they're not. Because last time I was here, it was me, Crispin, Monica, Greg, and it was just, Patrick Seitz. He's here this year.
FYI, inside information, Monica was invited this weekend, but had to turn it down because it was her birthday recently, and this weekend
She's celebrating her birthday in Houston this weekend. Yeah.